Let me tell you something powerful right now. The only limits that exist in your life are the ones you've accepted. Somewhere along the way, you were told what's possible for you. You were told what you could or couldn't achieve. Maybe it was your teachers, your family, your friends, or maybe it was your own inner critic whispering doubts into your ear. But here's the truth. You weren't born with those limits. You learned them. And if you learned them, you can unlearn them. Everything is possible if you just believe in yourself. That's not a motivational phrase, it's reality. Every single breakthrough, every invention, every world record, every success story started with a human being who decided to believe. They didn't have certainty, they didn't have guarantees, but they had belief. And belief is the seed that grows into achievement. Think about it. Belief is the starting line of transformation. When you believe, you ignite energy. You shift your focus. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. You take action when others freeze. Belief is the switch that turns possibility into reality. The problem is most people wait until they see results before they allow themselves to believe. They say, "I'll believe in myself once I have proof. Once I succeed, then I'll trust that I can." But life doesn't work that way. You must believe first, and then you create the proof. You must trust yourself enough to step into the unknown, to take the risk, to go after that dream, even when no one else sees what you see. Belief is not a feeling. It's a decision. It's not something that magically shows up one day. It's a choice you make every single morning when you wake up. You either choose to believe in the strength, the intelligence, the resourcefulness that's inside you, or you choose to believe in your doubts. And whichever one you choose will shape your reality. I want you to remember this. The people who have achieved the impossible were not the smartest, the richest, or the most talented. They were the ones who refused to quit. They were the ones who believed when it was easier to give up. They were the ones who decided, "I'm not stopping until I get there." So right now, what's your impossible? What's that dream, that vision, that life you've told yourself is too far out of reach? I want you to bring it back into your heart. Because if you can see it, if you can feel it, if you can believe in it, then it's possible. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need someone to tell you it's realistic. You only need to believe in yourself enough to take the first step, and then another, and then another. Momentum builds, doors open, opportunities appear, and before you know it, what once felt impossible becomes your reality. So when your mind tells you, "I can't," you answer back with, "I will." When life knocks you down, you don't just get back up. You rise with more strength, more hunger, more belief than before. Because the truth is, you are far more powerful than you realize. Everything is possible, not for some, not for a chosen few, for you. But only if you make the choice today, right now, to believe in yourself completely. Belief is the foundation of all achievement because it is the unseen force that shapes the way you think, the way you act, and ultimately the way you live. Every person who has ever accomplished something extraordinary started at the same place you are right now, with an idea, a dream, and nothing but their own faith to carry them forward. When you look at history, you don't see proof first and belief second. You see belief lighting the way when there was no proof at all. The airplane didn't exist until two brothers believed it could, even when experts laughed at the idea of a machine flying through the sky. The light bulb wasn't real until one man refused to give up after thousands of failures, because he believed there had to be a way to turn night into day. Every advancement, every innovation, every breakthrough was born not from certainty, but from someone daring enough to believe when nobody else did. Belief is not some fluffy motivational idea. It's a real force that determines what you see and what you ignore. When you believe something is possible, your mind begins scanning the world for evidence, for opportunities, for solutions that line up with your conviction. It's like programming your brain to notice what can help you instead of what can stop you. A person who believes in their vision will walk into a room and spot a chance to connect, to grow, to move forward. Someone who doesn't believe will walk into the same room and see nothing but reasons to stay small, reasons to hold back, reasons to quit. Belief doesn't guarantee the outcome, but it opens your eyes to the very pathways that will lead you there. Without it, even the clearest opportunity can pass you by unnoticed. Think about what happens inside of you when you truly believe in something. Your energy changes, your posture changes, the tone of your voice shifts. You act with a certainty that people can feel, and that confidence draws others to you. Belief becomes magnetic. People want to follow someone who believes deeply because it awakens something in them too. If you look at leaders, innovators, and visionaries, their power wasn't that they had all the answers. It was that they believed in their mission so fiercely that others wanted to be part of it. Belief creates momentum, and momentum builds movements. It starts inside, but it doesn't stay there. It radiates outward until it shapes the world around you, but most people wait until they see results before they allow themselves to believe. They want the guarantee first, the safety net, the evidence that it's all going to work out. That's why so many dreams die before they even start. They're waiting for proof when proof only comes after faith. You cannot expect to build a life you want if you refuse to believe in it until it arrives. Belief is the foundation. It is the soil in which results grow. If you don't plant the seed of belief, there's nothing for your actions to take root in. That's why some people work hard but never break through. They go through the motions without the conviction, without the inner certainty that transforms effort into results. Belief also changes the way you respond to challenges. Without it, every setback feels like confirmation that you're not good enough, that your dream is too big, that success is reserved for someone else. But with belief, those same setbacks transform into feedback, into fuel, into stepping stones on the path forward. When you believe, failure doesn't crush you. It sharpens you. Rejection doesn't stop you. It redirects you. Obstacles don't intimidate you. They ignite you. Belief turns adversity into training, into preparation, into proof that you can handle more than you thought you could. Without it, even small problems feel impossible. With it, even the impossible feels like just another problem to solve. Belief is also contagious. When you believe in yourself, you give others permission to believe in themselves too. Your courage sparks courage in others. Your certainty inspires certainty. You may not even realize it, but by choosing to believe, you can shift the entire environment around you. People who once doubted start to wonder, maybe I can too. Families change, communities change, even generations change, all because one person chose to believe when it was easier to settle. Belief is not just about your personal success. It's about the ripple effect you create when you decide to live with conviction instead of fear. And here's the raw truth. Belief is a choice. It's not something you stumble upon or wait to feel one day. It's a decision you make moment to moment, especially when the evidence hasn't shown up yet. You can choose to believe in your strength or in your weakness. You can choose to believe in your vision or in your doubts. You can choose to believe in your ability to figure it out or in the excuses that keep you stuck. Every day you are choosing which voice to amplify, and that choice determines not just your mindset, but your destiny. The moment you decide to believe in yourself fully, you ignite a force that nothing external can take away. When you strip everything else down: resources, connections, talent, timing. Belief is the common denominator behind every success story. It is the foundation because it's the one thing that unlocks the rest. Without belief, knowledge sits unused, potential stays buried, and opportunities slip by. With belief, even the smallest step can compound into massive results because you're acting from a place of certainty instead of hesitation. The foundation of all achievement is not luck, not circumstances, not privilege. It is belief. And the most powerful part is, belief is always available to you. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require permission. It doesn't depend on where you were born or what you've been through. It's a choice you can make right now, a foundation you can build from today, if you decide to trust yourself and your vision completely. Limits are learned, not natural, because no child is born thinking they can't run, they can't speak, they can't dream, they can't become. When you were young, you tried everything without hesitation. You reached for what you wanted, you stumbled, you fell, and you got back up without questioning your worth. You didn't think about how many times you'd fail before you learned to walk. You didn't ask permission to laugh, to play, to explore. You didn't hold yourself back because of fear. Somewhere along the way, though, people started teaching you what was realistic. They started telling you what you could do and what you couldn't. They imposed their own fears, their own limitations, their own experiences on you, and slowly you started to believe them. Those limits you carry now are not part of who you are. They were programmed into you. The truth is, most of what you believe about your limitations comes from repetition. If you hear something enough times, especially from authority figures, you start to internalize it. If someone says you're not smart, you start to believe intelligence is fixed. If someone says money is scarce, you start to believe wealth is reserved for other people. If someone says success is only for the lucky, you start to believe you were never meant to have more. These beliefs get buried so deep that you forget to question them. You live your life inside invisible walls, not realizing that they're not made of steel, but of thoughts. And because you've been thinking them so long, they feel permanent. They feel real, but they're not. They're learned, which means they can be unlearned. Think of it like a computer program. Your mind has been coded over the years with scripts about who you are and what's possible for you. If the code says you're limited, you'll keep running into errors whenever you try to push beyond. But just like a program can be rewritten, your beliefs can be reprogrammed. You don't need to stay stuck inside the system someone else built for you. You can challenge the code, rewrite the script, and install new beliefs that empower you instead of cage you. Every time you push against a boundary, every time you question a limiting thought, you weaken the hold of that programming and open up space for something greater. What makes this difficult is that the world around you often reinforces the limits you've learned. If you've always been surrounded by people who accept mediocrity, who give up easily, who settle for less, their behaviors confirm the limits you already carry. You begin to think that's just how life works. You stop questioning, but the moment you step outside that environment, the moment you see someone who broke the very rules you thought were unbreakable, something shifts inside of you. You realize the limit wasn't real, it was just a belief. And if they can break through, so can you. That's why exposure is powerful. When you see examples of people defying the odds, you're reminded that the odds are just numbers, not destiny. The danger of learned limits is that they don't just affect what you attempt, they affect how you attempt it. If you believe you're limited, you'll hold back effort, you'll play it safe. You won't risk everything because deep down you don't think it will pay off. And because you don't give your full energy, you get mediocre results, which then reinforces the belief that you can't go further. It's a vicious cycle, but if you flip that belief, if you convince yourself you're capable, you'll approach challenges with full force, with creativity, with resilience. You'll keep going when others stop, and that persistence alone will take you further than talent or luck ever could. Children are the clearest example of this. A child doesn't know what's impossible until someone tells them. They imagine being astronauts, artists, athletes, inventors without hesitation. Their imagination is limitless because they haven't learned to doubt yet. Watch a child build with blocks and then knock it all down, only to rebuild again with excitement. They don't quit after one collapse. They don't decide they're bad at building. They just keep going because no one has taught them to see failure as final. That's the natural state of being limitless, resilient, creative. Adults lose that because they've been trained to equate failure with worth, to equate obstacles with dead ends, to equate mistakes with shame. But the truth is that limitless state is still inside of you. It never left. You just buried it under years of conditioning. When you understand that limits are learned, you start to take back your power. If you can learn limits, you can also learn freedom. If you can learn doubt, you can also learn confidence. If you can learn fear, you can also learn courage. The same brain that absorbed the limitations of others is capable of absorbing beliefs that expand you. It's about choice, repetition, and reinforcement. The same way a limiting belief became part of your identity over time, an empowering belief can become just as deeply ingrained if you feed it daily. You don't need to erase every old belief at once. You just need to start building new ones stronger than the old. Over time, those new beliefs reshape your perception, your decisions, your life. Look at the stories of people who overcame impossible odds. They weren't superhuman. They were simply unwilling to accept the limits they'd been taught. They questioned the beliefs that held them back. They refused to settle for the identity others placed on them. Whether it was an athlete defying physical expectations, an entrepreneur breaking through financial barriers, or a visionary challenging societal norms, they all shared one thing. They refused to believe the lie of limitation. And once they rejected that lie, the ceiling above them cracked open. They didn't suddenly get more talent, they got more belief. They didn't suddenly get more resources. They used what they had differently because their mind was free. The most powerful shift you can make is realizing that the walls around you are not concrete. They're paper. You can walk through them if you stop accepting them as real. Every time you challenge a belief that tells you I can't, you tear a hole in that paper. Every time you act despite fear, you weaken the hold of the limit. Every time you refuse to settle, you prove to yourself that the limit wasn't truth. It was habit, and habits can be broken. The more you push against these walls, the less power they have, until eventually you realize there were never any walls at all, just ideas you had the choice to carry or the courage to drop. Belief is a daily choice, not a feeling, because waiting to feel confident before you act will keep you stuck in the same place forever. Feelings are fleeting. They rise and fall depending on circumstances, on mood, on the stories running in your head. If you depend on feelings to guide your life, you'll only move when it's easy, only try when you're comfortable, only step forward when the path looks safe. But achievement, growth, transformation, they never show up in the comfort zone. They demand that you step out when you don't feel ready, that you act when fear is loud, that you commit when doubt is heavy. That's why belief must be a choice, a conscious decision you make regardless of how you feel in the moment. When you wake up in the morning, you're already faced with a decision. Do you choose to believe in the possibilities of the day, or do you choose to believe in your excuses? Do you choose to believe that you're capable of creating momentum, or do you choose to believe that today will be just like yesterday? That choice determines the tone of everything that follows. People often wait for motivation to strike, but motivation comes after action, not before it. The act of choosing to believe, before the evidence, before the results, creates the momentum that then fuels the feelings. Too many people reverse the order, waiting for belief to magically appear, when in reality it is built like a muscle through repetition and choice. Belief as a choice is about ownership. You cannot control the circumstances of life. You cannot control what others say or do, but you can control the meaning you give those circumstances. Two people can face the same obstacle. One chooses to believe it's the end, the other chooses to believe it's a lesson. Two people can hear the same criticism. One chooses to believe it's proof they're not enough. The other chooses to believe it's feedback they can use. The event doesn't shape them. Their choice of belief does. That's why some people collapse under pressure while others thrive in it. The difference isn't what happened. The difference is what they chose to believe about what happened. Every great achievement begins with someone making the decision to believe long before the results showed up. Think of an athlete training for years before ever winning a medal. Day after day, they choose belief, even when their times are slow, even when their body aches, even when nobody is watching. If they waited until they felt certain, they would quit the moment training got hard. But belief as a choice is what keeps them coming back, what keeps them enduring, what keeps them pressing forward until the breakthrough happens. Entrepreneurs who start with nothing but an idea are the same. There's no guarantee customers will buy, no guarantee investors will support, no guarantee the world will care. But they choose belief, and that choice is what drives them to test, to refine, to persist until their vision becomes real. The mistake most people make is thinking that belief is a matter of luck or personality. They think some people are just naturally confident, naturally bold, naturally certain. But confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you build by stacking choices on top of choices. Every time you choose to believe in yourself when it would have been easier not to, you create evidence for your future self. You start to stack proof that you can handle more than you thought. And the more evidence you build, the stronger your belief becomes. It's a cycle, but it begins with the decision, not the feeling. Choosing belief daily also requires you to guard what you allow into your mind. If you're surrounded by negativity, by doubt, by constant reminders of failure, it's easy to unconsciously choose disempowering beliefs. Your environment feeds your choices, so you must intentionally feed your belief with things that lift you up. Reading stories of people who defied the odds, listening to voices that encourage growth, surrounding yourself with people who hold you to a higher standard. All of this makes the choice to believe easier, because you're no longer fighting against a tide of negativity. But even then, the responsibility is yours. You can be in the most supportive environment in the world and still choose doubt. Or you can be in the most difficult environment and still choose belief. That's the power of choice. There's also a discipline to belief. Just like you train your body, you must train your mind to return to belief again and again. Doubt will always whisper, fear will always surface, insecurity will always try to sneak back in. The people who rise are not the ones who never feel those things. They are the ones who consistently choose belief in spite of them. They replace doubt with possibility. They replace fear with focus. They replace insecurity with action. It's not about erasing the negative voice. It's about refusing to let it be the one you follow. That refusal is a choice, and it must be made daily. Belief is also not all or nothing. You don't have to believe 100% every second of the day. You only need to believe enough to take the next step, and then the next, and then the next. People think they need absolute certainty before starting, but certainty grows as you move. The first step may feel shaky, but once you take it, you realize you survived. Then you take another, and slowly your belief compounds. If you wait until the belief feels complete, you'll wait forever. But if you choose even a small spark of belief now, it can grow into a fire that sustains you. The reason belief must be chosen daily is because life will constantly test it. Every obstacle, every setback, every delay is an opportunity to choose again. Will you fall back into old patterns of doubt, or will you renew your choice to believe? That renewal is what strengthens you. The storm doesn't make you weaker, it makes your belief stronger if you choose to stand in it. And once you've chosen belief through enough storms, you become unshakable, because you've proven to yourself that your faith is not dependent on circumstances. It's dependent only on your choice. When you fully embrace belief as a choice, you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for guarantees. You stop waiting for the right time. You understand that the right time is whenever you decide it is. You understand that the power was never in the external world. It was always in your decision. And because it's a choice, nobody can take it from you. Doubt may show up, fear may show up, but they have no authority unless you hand it to them. Every day you wake up, you hold the authority. You get to decide whether you will live by belief or by fear. And that decision shapes the entire course of your life. Persistence fueled by belief creates the impossible, because belief alone is not enough if it isn't backed up with relentless action. Dreams don't become reality by simply wishing for them. They become reality when belief turns into fuel that drives you to keep moving forward when others stop. Persistence is the bridge between what you imagine and what you experience. It's what takes belief out of your mind and plants it firmly into your reality. Without persistence, belief is just an idea. With persistence, belief becomes unstoppable momentum. Think about the way most people approach their goals. They start with excitement, full of motivation and hope, but the moment they hit resistance, they question themselves. The moment something takes longer than they expected, they slow down. The moment life throws an obstacle in their path, they retreat. They may still believe deep down that their goal is possible, but they don't persist long enough to see it through. And that's where the majority quit. Not because they didn't have talent, not because the dream was too big, but because they stopped when persistence was required. Belief gives you the vision, but persistence gives you the victory. Every story of someone achieving the impossible is a story of persistence. Look at inventors, athletes, artists, leaders. They all faced setbacks, ridicule, rejection, and failure, but they kept going. Not because they enjoyed the struggle, but because their belief in the outcome was so strong that quitting was simply not an option. Belief gives you a reason. Persistence keeps you in the fight. Every time you fall and get back up, every time you push forward when it hurts, every time you try again when it feels hopeless, you are proving that your belief is real. Persistence is the physical evidence of belief. Anyone can say they believe, but the ones who persist are the ones who show it. The power of persistence is that it compounds. The first time you push through difficulty, it's hard, it feels overwhelming, but once you realize you can survive it, you gain strength. The next challenge doesn't break you as easily. Each obstacle you overcome builds a layer of resilience until you become unstoppable. Persistence turns you into a different person, someone who doesn't just dream, but who has proven to themselves that they can endure, adapt, and rise. That transformation only comes through repeated acts of staying the course when everything in you wants to quit. There is also something magnetic about persistence. People around you can doubt your words, they can dismiss your ideas, but they cannot ignore relentless action. When others see you keep going year after year, when they see you still standing after countless failures, when they see you pressing forward while others fall away, they begin to take notice. Your persistence earns respect. It draws support. It creates allies and opportunities you could never have predicted. Most importantly, it breaks down resistance in the world itself. Life has a way of rewarding those who simply refuse to go away. The doors that remain closed for everyone else eventually open for the person who keeps knocking without stopping, but persistence is not blind stubbornness. It's not about banging your head against a wall without learning. True persistence fueled by belief is adaptive. It's about adjusting your approach, learning from mistakes, refining your methods, but never abandoning the goal. Some people confuse quitting with changing strategy. Quitting is walking away from the vision. Changing strategy is persistence in action. It's the belief saying, I know there's a way, and I'll keep trying until I find it. This kind of persistence requires humility, patience, and creativity. It's not just about endurance. It's about intelligent endurance. The reason persistence is rare is because most people crave quick results. If it doesn't happen fast, they assume it's not meant to be. But the greatest achievements often take years, sometimes decades, of consistent effort. The world only sees the breakthrough moment, the highlight, the medal, the success story, but behind it are countless days of persistence where no one was watching, no one was cheering, no one was validating. That's the true test. Can you keep going when the applause is absent, when the recognition hasn't come, when the results are still invisible? Persistence fueled by belief allows you to endure the silence, to keep working in the dark until the light arrives. Persistence also protects you from the emotional storms that stop so many people. Fear, doubt, and discouragement will show up repeatedly, but if your belief is strong enough, it fuels the persistence that carries you through those emotional valleys. You don't need to feel motivated every day, you just need to keep showing up. That's the discipline of persistence. It's not about what you feel in the moment, it's about what you've decided to commit to long term. Feelings come and go, but choices and actions compound. Each day you persist, you add another brick to the foundation of your dream until it becomes unshakable when you look at people who achieved what others called impossible. You'll notice that their persistence often outlasted the criticism. At first, people mocked them, doubted them, even resisted them. But over time, persistence wore down the resistance. The critics either disappeared or became believers, not because their opinions changed overnight, but because persistence proved what words could not. There is something undeniable about someone who refuses to quit. Eventually, the world adjusts to them instead of them adjusting to the world. Persistence also requires clarity of purpose. If your belief is shallow, if your reason is weak, you won't persist. The moment it gets hard, you'll give up. That's why you must know your why. What is it you're fighting for? What is it you believe so strongly that you're willing to endure discomfort, rejection, even failure for? When your belief connects to a deep purpose, persistence becomes natural. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it means you'll keep showing up because the vision matters more than the pain. Purpose transforms persistence from drudgery into devotion, and there is another truth. Persistence makes you discover parts of yourself you would never meet otherwise. You only find your deepest strength when you're pushed to the edge and still refuse to quit. You only discover your creativity when your first 10 attempts fail and you're forced to think differently. You only realize your capacity for resilience when life knocks you down over and over, and yet you stand back up. Without persistence, those parts of you stay hidden. With persistence, you uncover your true potential, the version of yourself that can do far more than you ever imagined. Persistence, fueled by belief, creates the impossible because it stretches the boundaries of what you think is achievable. At first, the dream feels distant, unreachable, maybe even foolish. But every act of persistence brings it closer. Every time you endure one more day, one more setback, one more trial, the impossible shifts a little further toward the possible. And eventually, what once looked impossible becomes your new normal, not because it magically happened, but because persistence transformed it through time, effort, and faith. Your vision becomes reality when belief turns into action, because no matter how strong your faith is, nothing changes until you move. You can dream, you can visualize, you can affirm, but unless you take the steps in the physical world, your vision will remain locked inside your imagination. Action is the bridge between what you see in your mind and what you hold in your hands. It is the proof that you truly believe. Without action, belief is only potential energy, but with action, it becomes the force that shapes your future. Action is where belief becomes visible, measurable, and powerful. Every great accomplishment began as an invisible idea. At first, it existed only in the imagination of the person who carried it. That idea could have stayed there forever if it weren't for action. Action is what brought electricity to life, what launched rockets into space, what built empires, what created art that still moves us centuries later. Behind every success story, you'll find someone who was willing to take the risk of moving forward before everything was clear, before everything was perfect, before they felt completely ready. They acted on their belief, and that action made all the difference. The mistake many people make is waiting until conditions are perfect before they act. They wait until they feel confident enough, skilled enough, or resourced enough. They wait until they have the money, the support, the guarantee of success. But perfect conditions never come. If you wait for certainty, you'll be waiting your whole life. Belief is not meant to eliminate uncertainty. It's meant to give you the courage to act despite it. The act of moving forward, even with incomplete information, creates momentum that nothing else can. Action attracts opportunities, resources, and people you would never encounter if you stayed still. It's only when you step onto the path that the next steps reveal themselves. Action also builds clarity. You can plan for years, strategize endlessly, but until you take action, you don't know what will actually work. Action gives you feedback. It shows you what's effective and what needs to change. Without action, you live in theory. With action, you live in reality. Too many people stay trapped in analysis, paralyzed by overthinking, waiting for the perfect plan. But the truth is, plans don't create results, actions do. Belief without action is imagination, but belief with action is transformation. The relationship between belief and action is cyclical. Belief fuels action, but action also strengthens belief. Every time you take a step, even a small one, you create evidence for yourself that your vision is possible. You start to build proof that you can move forward, that you can handle challenges, that you can grow into what you desire. The more action you take, the more your belief grows. And the more your belief grows, the bigger the actions you're willing to take. This cycle compounds over time until what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Action also demands courage, because stepping forward means facing the possibility of failure. But failure in action is not the end, it's the teacher. Every failed attempt reveals something you didn't know before. Every setback refines your strategy. Every rejection strengthens your resilience. If you never act, you avoid failure, but you also avoid growth. Action exposes you to risk, but it also exposes you to transformation. The people who achieve their visions are not the ones who never failed. They are the ones who acted again and again, learning each time, refusing to stop. Action makes failure a stepping stone instead of a roadblock. Vision without action can even become a burden. When you carry a dream inside you but never take steps toward it, it weighs on you. You feel the tension between what you see in your mind and what you live in reality. That tension turns into frustration, regret, and even bitterness. But the moment you act, even in a small way, the weight begins to lift. You feel alignment between who you are and who you're meant to be. You reclaim your power because you're no longer just dreaming, you're doing. Action transforms longing into progress, and progress creates fulfillment. The beauty of action is that it doesn't need to be massive at first. People think they need to take giant leaps, but often it's the small, consistent actions that create the biggest shifts. Writing 1 page a day leads to a book. Saving a little money consistently leads to financial freedom. Practicing one skill daily leads to mastery. When belief is paired with consistent action, even small steps compound into extraordinary results. What matters most is not the size of the action, but the commitment to keep moving. Tiny steps forward are infinitely more powerful than big intentions with no movement. Action also inspires others. When people see you living your belief, when they see you taking steps despite fear, it awakens something in them. Your courage becomes contagious. Your actions become a model that others can follow. Belief in isolation may inspire your own heart, but action in the world inspires change in the lives of others. Movements don't grow from belief alone. They grow when belief is acted upon in a way that others can see, feel, and join. Action is what multiplies belief beyond yourself and into the collective. There will always be resistance when you take action. Resistance shows up as procrastination, self-doubt, distraction, and excuses. But resistance is also a sign that you're moving towards something important. The greater the vision, the greater the resistance. You can't eliminate resistance, but you can overcome it by acting anyway. Once you act, resistance weakens. Once you move, fear begins to shrink. Action is the antidote to resistance, because it turns abstract fear into concrete experience. An experience is always less terrifying than the unknown when belief turns into action. You also begin to discover strengths and abilities you didn't know you had. You don't find your true capacity sitting on the sidelines. You find it in the middle of the work, in the trial, in the challenge. Action stretches you, pushes you, forces you to grow. It reveals your resourcefulness, your creativity, your resilience. You realize you can adapt. You can figure things out. You can endure far more than you thought possible. None of that is revealed in stillness. It's revealed in motion. Action is the stage where your potential performs and proves itself. Your vision becomes reality not through a single action, but through a series of actions repeated over time. Consistency is the multiplier. One workout won't transform your health. One conversation won't build a relationship. One effort won't create success. But repeated action, day after day, aligned with your belief, creates unstoppable momentum. Each action stacks on top of the last until your vision, piece by piece, becomes visible in your life. That's how dreams materialize. Through persistent, aligned, consistent action that refuses to fade away. Belief without action is like a seed never planted. It may carry potential for growth, but unless it's put in the soil and nurtured through effort, it will never become what it could be. Action is the planting, the watering, the nurturing of your vision. It's what allows your belief to take root in reality and grow into something you can see, touch, and live. Every vision, no matter how big, begins with the smallest act of planting through action. And once you plant, you must keep tending, keep nurturing, keep acting until the harvest arrives.